I'm glad to be with you today on Woodworking with Wes. It has been a year since I built the outfeed table for my saw, and today I'd like to revisit that build. I want to talk to you about some of the things that I really liked about what I did, and one thing that I would have done different. First off, I want you to watch the original video of the build that I did, and then let's talk. I drew me up some diagrams, the size that I wanted it. I did my math here. You can see I did my math. We're going to make some columns, some posts to support. And I've got to make 8 posts that are going to be 7.5 by 7.5 by 31 3/4, actually 31 inches high, because we're going to put a little foot piece on, and then a double thick top. So it's going to have an 1.5 inch thick top. We're going to make all of the support pieces out of this 3/4 inch particle board, and then we're going to put a piece of white melamine for our top, across the top. And this is going to be the size of our outfeed table when it's completed. 59 inches by 120 inches, a nice big work table. And this is where our saw goes, right there. Let's get started by building the posts. We have ripped some of our 3/4 inch particle board to 31 inch lengths. And now, in order to make the post 7.5 by 7.5, there'll be 2 7.5 inch pieces and 2 6 inch pieces nailed together in a square. Okay, here's our 7.5 by 7.5 leg, just 3/4 inch particle board. These are extremely strong and very inexpensive to make. And I've used them for table legs, for work tables or outfeed tables. They are great for what we're using them for. I only have 8 more to do. I now have all of my columns, my legs to my outfeed table, all nailed together. I nailed on a little foot. Now the columns are 7.5 by 7.5, and the little foot piece that I nailed on is 8 by 8. I'm going to show you how I did that, and then I'm going to show you why I did that. Let's put this down here on the floor. It's not an exact measurement. I just put my fingers on both sides so that it kind of feels like I'm even side to side and front to back, like that. Then I'm just going to use my 1 1/4 18 gauge brad. And just like that. Now, the reason I did that, this is the bottom of the column. It's going to go against the floor like that. The little foot that we just put on is for leveling. We'll be able to, and because we have a garage floor, we're not exactly level, and we want everything to be nice and level as we put it together, we'll be able to put shingle shims underneath here and pound them up so that everything comes up to level. We've already leveled the table saw, and then we'll level the bench to go with it. As I was making my working drawings, I made 3 drawings of our tabletop. This is the drawing that determined where the legs that we just got through building, where they're going to go. This drawing right here is the finished white melamine top that is going to be flush with my tabletop. We talked about that, 59 by 120. This drawing here is the underneath level. Now remember, our top is going to be 2 thicknesses thick. The bottom thickness is going to be particle board. The top thickness is going to be white melamine. And I didn't want my seams to line up. I wanted the seams to overlap for extra strength. And so I drew it out. These are the seams for my white, and these are the seams for my particle board. And so before I take my makeshift outfeed table down, I'm going to cut my particle board layer of my outfeed table first. We now have our posts, our columns, set into the configuration that I want to have them for the bottom of our table. I went ahead and attached this skirt piece that I'm going to have go all the way around to tie our legs together and to increase the strength of our top. Once we get all the skirt pieces, and this is another piece of skirt and it's going to be attached, it's 7 3/4. Once I get the skirt pieces all attached, I will put one more level of what I'm going to call stretcher pieces. They're going to go on here. That's going to help with the squaring and leveling. And then once I get those pieces on, the first level of particle board, our subtop, will go on. Let's go ahead and let me get some of this done, and then I'm going to come back and show you each stage as we go through. I want you to look at our skirt that I did. I have it almost complete. I'm just going to put in the last piece. I want you to see how I've tied the columns together and how this skirt goes around and adds support to our top. Our last piece that we're going to put in, I want to show you a little trick. I nailed on 2 little cleats on the top. This last piece is going to go right here, and these little cleats hold it level and flush. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some 1 1/4 screws. And that's how I have been anchoring skirt pieces all the way around, have just been anchored with 1 1/4 screws. I have me a couple of pencil marks here to show where I want to do it. And I line that up. And I just put these 1 1/4 screws in. And these 1 1/4 screws give me a lot of support. And then when I get all done, all I got to do is take these little cleats, pop them off. Now this is nice and flush. When I get all done putting these cleats in, let me show you what is next. The skirt portion and the legs all completed and put into the configuration that I want. The next step is, remember I called this the stretchers. The stretchers are going to go around all the way around the circumference and across some of the skirt pieces for support to attach our subtop. This is when we will level our table. Once we get all of these stretcher pieces put on, then we'll go back and we'll level our table and bring it all into level so that we'll be ready to go. Let's go to that point and show you that when we get done. As you can see, we've got most of our stretchers putting on. We're just putting the last pieces on, and I wanted to show you how we're doing it. First thing we do, apply a little bit of glue. And then we put our stretcher piece on here, making sure that it's flush with the edge. And I'm using 1 3/4 large crown staples. And just stapling this on. That will hold really well, and the glue will make it hold even better. And then we're going to do the same thing here and here, and that will complete our stretcher level except for one piece. I want to show you something very special here that you need to keep in mind if you're building an outfeed table. Let me come around here and show you. I have this corner put together, but I have to be able to open the door to the cabinet of my table saw. So what I've done is I've just put a little angle piece in here that allows my door to open, but still gives me some additional support for the subtop when I get ready to put the subtop on. So we'll nail these pieces, last pieces on. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to level all of this table off of the top of this stretcher level. We'll be using shingle shims to level up. And I need to be 1.5 inches. This is 2 pieces of 3/4 nailed together, so 1.5 inches. I need to be 1.5 inches from this level to my tabletop. So I made myself a little cheat block,
And I'll put this little block on my pieces as I level, and you can see I'm down a little bit there, so I need to level that up to where this is smooth. Once I get this all leveled so that this is flush with my little cheat block, then I'll put my subtop and then my top. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get this all leveled. I'll show you how it looks when it's level, and then we'll put our subtop on, and we're getting close. Okay, all done. Okay, we have our stretcher level on, and as you can tell, we're all leveled up, ready to go. My little cheat block worked really great. I'm going to go ahead and put on one of the pieces of the subdeck and show you how that's going to work and how we're going to attach it. As you remember, I had figured out the sizes of the subdeck that we were going to put down to make sure that our seams overlapped. Here's one of the pieces that I've cut out. Let me show you how it lays in there. This piece is to the left-hand or right-hand side of the table itself, and fits up tight and flush like that. And then we're going to just take our screw gun, 1 1/4 screws, and screw down through the stretcher pieces that we put on, and that will give us a really good tight hold onto our subdeck. And then we turn our cheat sheet around, our cheat stick, and when we put our top piece on, we're going to be just perfect. Okay, let me go ahead and get this piece put on, and we'll come back after that. Well, I promised you we'd come back after we got the subdeck on, and doesn't it look awesome? This is going to give us so much workspace. Now, we're getting ready to put the white melamine top on that will be our finished top. As you remember, I drew out a little map of what sizes. We have our sizes listed here, and I also marked on my table where my seams are going to be. This dark line right here and this dark line over here will indicate where the seams of my white melamine are. Now my seams for my subtop are here, here, and here, and so my white melamine is going to lap over like that, just like I had talked about, giving us extra strength and a smoother top. Now that we have this, we can cut our top really easy. So let's go ahead, cut our pieces, and get our top put on. We're going to do the majority of our installation with screws down through the top and around the sides. I'm going to come from underneath. The reason I do that is because it's an easy way to swap out the top if I ever got it damaged or I needed a new top for whatever reason, wore it out. Then I could swap out the top real easy by just backing the screws out and putting down a new level of white melamine. Let's get started. We have our white melamine all cut to size. The only thing I haven't done is put the screws in it yet. And I will do that, and I'm going to run a bull nose around the outside and kind of soften up the edges a little bit. I want to make sure all my seams are perfectly lined up and everything, and that's going to take a little bit of time. I want to come back right at the very end and show it to you with all the screws in it and ready to go, and just show you what a wonderful workspace this is going to be. See you in a minute. Well, what do you think? It came together just like I had hoped. Now, this is a big outfeed table for a saw, and I understand that if you have a small workshop, this might be a little bit too much. But the construction application is the same. You start with your space, you decide how big you want to go, you build some good sturdy columns, you put a nice top on it so that you have the ability to slide wood across, and you go to work just like I'm going to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed revisiting the original video, but let's talk about the things that I really liked about what I did. One of the things that I did that I like is I like the big size of my table. Now,
I realize that every shop doesn't have that much space to give away, and you have to deal with that as you put together your shop. But I had the room, and I like a big table around my saw. It gives me room to work. It gives me room to set my things. When I push things across the top of my saw, I have room to set my material as I cut it. I like the big long bar that I put here that allows me to have more space or more cutting capacity to the right hand side of my blade. There are some things like that that I did right. I like the slick melamine top that I put on there. Things slide across there nice and easy. But there's one thing I did wrong. Well, I don't know if I'd call it wrong. I'd do it different. Let's step over here to the left-hand side of my blade. On the left-hand side of my table saw table, I made a 2-foot section to my table here that would give me support as I ran things through the table saw. The one thing that I would have done different is I would have made this maybe 6 or 8 inches bigger. But let me show you, it's something I can fix even now without doing the whole table over again. Let's look at this, how I can fix this. As you watched the video, you noticed that I put a big heavy skirt with really strong legs, heavy duty legs on there. If I wanted to extend the top on my outfeed table, what I could do is I could build some heavy duty corbels and screw to this skirt, take off this one section. And remember, I put it on with screws on top so that I could take it off and replace it if I needed to. And I could take that off and replace it with a wider piece by just adding a buildup on the top of my corbels and a new piece of melamine that was the extra width. And I could have that additional capacity that I think I would really enjoy on my table saw outfeed table. All right, things like this, the ability to adjust a little bit as you go along, those are things that always make our shop better, because if you're like me, a shop is always in the state of improvement. You're always getting a new tool, or you're always building a new bench, or you're always getting another drawer. Everything like that is part of getting your shop the ultimate shop later on. And it's always later on because you're always improving. But anyway, these are things to keep in mind while you're watching Woodworking with Wes.